Dear friends, you remember in Four Little Engines that Sir Handel Brown, the owner, sent Skarloey away to be mended. These stories tell what happened when the little old engine came home. Skarloey is not real. You can only see him in these books. But there is a real engine just like Skarloey. He is very, very old and has been mended. His name is Thailand, and he lives in Talion in Wales. You would all enjoy going to see him at work. The author.
Every day where the little engines work, the crisp air is suddenly filled with a familiar noise. The lakes and mountains have many visitors, and Harold the helicopter flies the sky, making sure that no one is in trouble. All present and correct. Time to return to base. Then Harold noticed something. A sturdy diesel was coming round the mountain. Flew lower for a closer inspection. I'm Harold. Who are you? I'm Rusty, replied the diesel. Don't recall seeing you before. What brings you this way? Sir Topham Hatt sent me to help the other engines, huffed Rusty. This was no time for a chat with a helicopter. Well done. Cheers, and keep up the good work. Cheeky chopper, muttered Rusty. Not long now, encouraged the driver. We'll soon be at the top station. Peter, Sam, and Sir Handel were glad to see Rusty. Even so, Sir Handel wouldn't stop grumbling. The cars didn't like Sir Handel and wanted to play tricks on him. No one understands our feelings, sympathized Gordon. Now, if you were ill, you couldn't shunt cars. Could you? Good idea, replied Sir Handel. I'll try it. He did so next morning. I don't feel well, he groaned. There wasn't time to examine him, so some of his cars were coupled behind Peter Sam's coaches. Rusty promised to follow with the rest. Peter Sam didn't mind the extra work. He left his coaches at the station and trundled cheerfully on. Soon they reached the quarry where the cars were needed. Empty cars at the bottom of the slope are hitched to a cable. Loaded ones at the top are hitched to another. By their weight, loaded cars run down the steep slope, pulling the empty ones up. Peter Sam duly waited at the bottom of the slope for the loaded cars. He never bumped cars unless they misbehaved. But the loaded cars couldn't see him properly. They thought he was Sir Handel. Their chance for trickery had come. Faster! Faster! They yelled. No, no! Wailed the empty cars. It's Peter Sam! But it was no use. Hurrah! Hurrah! Roared the cars. Peter Sam shut his eyes. Wailed Peter Sam. Rusty was working nearby and came to help clear up the mess. Bust my buffers, exclaimed Rusty. Never mind, Peter Sam. We'll get you out. Peter Sam felt battered. His funnel was cracked and his boiler dented. Thank you, Rusty, he sighed and limped slowly home. I'm sorry about your accident, said Sir Handel. I always stand well back. Cars don't like me. Why didn't you warn me? I didn't think. You never do. You can start thinking now while you're doing Peter Sam's work as well as your own. That'll teach you to pretend you are ill. Sir Handel did start thinking about Gordon. When the wreckage was cleared away, Rusty set off along the line. Splendid to see you again, whizzed Harold. I'm completing my evening's lookabout. Well done. Cheers, and keep up the good work. And the little diesel purred back home. Skarloey had been to the works to be mended. He felt much better. Rusty the Diesel was helping him off his rail car. Skarloey hadn't met the little diesel before. Rusty seems a kindly sort of engine, he thought to himself. I help to mend the line and do odd jobs, explained Rusty. I hear everyone is looking forward to seeing you again. Come on. Peter Sam was feeling depressed. He was still getting over his accident, but he wanted to start work again. Sir Topham Hatt wouldn't let him. Another day's rest will do you good, he said. Besides, I've got a surprise for you. For me, sir? How nice, sir. What is it, sir? Wait and see. The surprise was Skarloey. Oh, said Peter Sam, I'm glad you've come home. They lit Skarloey's fire and he sizzled happily. I feel all excited, he said, just like a young engine. Now tell me all the news. I see you've met Rusty, said Peter Sam. Yes, I like that diesel. So do I, replied Peter Sam. It's a pity Duncan doesn't. Who is Duncan? He came as a spare engine after my accident, replied Peter Sam. Is he useful? He keeps busy, and I'm sure he means well, but he's bouncy and rude. He sings and sways and swivels around. His drivers call it rock and roll. I understand, said Skarloey gravely. His driver interrupted. Duncan has done it again. He's stuck in a tunnel. Come on, old boy, we'll have to get him out. Skarloey was pleased. He wanted to run and looked forward to meeting Duncan. They found the caboose and some workmen and hurried up the line. How nice and smooth the rails are, thought Skarloey. They've mended all the old bumps. The little diesel has helped to do that. What a difference Rusty's made to the line. Soon they found Duncan. He was stuck at the far end of the tunnel, and he was very cross. I've a plain, blunt engine. I speak as I find. Tunnels should be tunnels and not rabbit holes. This railway is no good at all. Don't be silly, snapped his driver. This tunnel is quite big enough for engines who don't rock and roll. It took a long time to clear away the rocks and set Duncan free again. At last, Skarloey was able to push Duncan and his coaches safely through. The caboose was left on the siding, and the workmen stayed to make sure everything was safe. Duncan grumbled all the way home, but Skarloey paid no attention. Later, Sir Topham Hatt spoke severely to Duncan. Listen to me. There is nothing wrong with that tunnel. You stuck in it because you tried to do rock and roll. Tunnels are not dance floors, and you are not a pop star. Then Sir Topham Hatt gave his full attention to Duncan's funnel. If it happens again, he ended ominously, I shall find ways to cut you down to size. In other words, your career is on the line. Need I say more? Duncan thought Sir Topham Hatt had said quite enough, and he remained completely silent and still, for at least a whole evening. Skarloey, the little engine, loves all the sights and sounds along his line and knows them very well. Soon after he returned from being mended, he was enjoying his journey more than ever before. Along the way, he met Rusty. You know, he said, if I couldn't see these familiar faces and places, I'd think I was on a different railway. You've done wonders with these rails. Rusty laughed. I'm glad you're pleased. Manager said, let's mend the track so well that he won't know where he is. And we did. And you didn't, if you take my meaning. Skarloey liked this hard-working diesel. There's still one bad bit, warned Rusty, just before the first station. An engine might come off there, particularly Duncan. He will rock and roll along the line. Look at him right now. I hope he doesn't hurt his passengers. What's that about me? I'm a plain engine, and I believe in plain speaking. Speak up! Rusty warned Duncan about the bad bit of rail. Huh. I know my way about. I don't need smelly diesels to tell me what to do. Rusty felt hurt. Duncan banged about the yard. Then he clattered crossly to the station. James was already there, waiting for him. You're late, he snapped. I know, said Duncan. It's that smelly diesel's fault. Rusty tries to teach me how to stay on the rails and then goes off leaving me to find my own coaches. You poor engine, sympathized James. I know all about diesels. One crept into our yard and ordered us about. I soon sent him packing. Duncan was filled with admiration. He didn't know that James was boastful and sometimes didn't tell the truth. Send Rusty packing! Send Rusty packing! Snorted Duncan. He climbed the hill furiously. Well done, boy, encouraged his driver. Keep it up. Soon they were near the first station. Duncan was pleased. Nothing's happened! Nothing's happened, silly old diesel. Clever me. And he rocked and rolled along the line. Steady, boy, checked his driver. But it was too late. Sleepers and ballast, I'm off. And he was. I warned him, said Rusty. But all he did was call me names. The little diesel refused to move. I'm ashamed of you, Rusty, said Skarloey. Think of the passengers. What are they going to do? Oh, I'd forgotten them. Yes, of course. We must help the passengers. And Rusty roared into life. Duncan stood sad and solitary. He couldn't rock and roll now. Oh dear, he thought. Everyone will know how silly I am. The passengers had to get out and help too. They weren't very pleased about that, but worked as hard as they could. They carefully levered Duncan back onto the line. After that, Duncan was extra careful all day. At last, evening came. Rusty, he whispered, thank you for helping. I'm sorry I was rude to you. That's all right, Duncan. I wish all diesels were like you. Let's be friends. Suits me, replied Rusty. We'll mend that bad bit of rail first thing tomorrow.
One day, at the station, a tourist was talking to Sir Topham Hatt about some things. Sir Handel and Peter Sam were at the station taking some passengers, and they heard everything of what the tourist had to say.
I really like what this railway has, sir. I'll tell the boss everything about this. and if he likes what he hears, then we'll take it.
The two engines didn't like what they were hearing, and Sir Handel whispered something to Peter Sam.
It's just like our old railway, remember? Except it seems like that man has a boss who wants to buy this railway and take charge of it. We might end up going to separate railways this time.
Peter Sam wasn't so sure about Sir Handel's rumor, but he was scared that it might come true. Sir Handel told the other engines that night, and they were worried as well, making Peter Sam even more worried than ever. The next morning he was picking up passengers at a station, but he was still worried so much that he was close to crying. His driver noticed this, and knew that something was wrong.
What's the matter, Peter Sam?
Haven't you heard the rumor? The guy from yesterday will tell his boss about the railway, and that boss might buy our railway and will sell us. I don't want to get sold.
Oh, Peter Sam, you can be one funny engine sometimes. Those people aren't going to buy you in the railway. They work for a television program, and they want to take some pictures for the world to see.
After his driver explained everything, his mood changed from sad to very happy, and he sang about it too.
I'm not going to be sold. I'm not going to be sold.
Then he told the other engines at the sheds after he was done with the express. They were all excited, except Sir Handel.
I don't hold with it. You all make fools of yourselves. Television these days is nothing but garbage. I mean, why do you think Leica Tamer 100 sticks with DVDs as a collection and use them as a TV schedule for himself, as well as ignoring the news?
Hey, let's not break the fourth wall. Stick with the script.
Anyway, wait until Sir Topham Hatt comes here and tell us about this television thing. I have an idea.
The engines didn't say anything. All Skarloey could do was wink at Peter Sam. The next morning, Sir Topham Hatt came to their sheds. He was telling them about the TV crew, but Sir Handel was very quiet because he was waiting for his chance to get out of the plan.
Now, I want you engines to do what I'm about to tell you.
Then came Sir Handel's chance.
Sir, I don't think I'd be able to help because I don't feel so good.
Well, you poor engine. I guess you can stay in the sheds.
Sir Handel smiled. He thought he got away with the filming crew, but then Sir Topham Hatt said something else.
I can have the repair crew come here and check you out. I'm sure they'll pull some parts out of you. Then again, that would be an interesting thing for the television crew to film.
Sir Handel stopped smiling. He couldn't believe what he had just heard. Skarloey and Peter Sam tried not to laugh, but they knew that Sir Handel had had it coming.
Now that's that. Now, Skarloey, are you able to take the express for the crew?
Oh, I would love to, sir. I was hoping that you would ask me.
Excellent. Now, Duncan shall have a goods train, while Rusty can show the crew on how he mends the line.
Please, sir, what about me?
Don't worry, Peter Sam. I was just about to come to you. You shall pull the television express.
Oh, sir, thank you, sir.
No problem at all. Now let's get going.
Later that day, the crew was getting everything ready for their live show. The cameras were set on top of some of the coaches, with wires connecting to some generators in some of the trucks. Everyone and everything was ready. They practiced so they'd know what to do. At last, the announcer gave the signal, and the cameras were on.
Yippee! We're on the air, we're on the air.
Peter Sam started to pull the coaches to the sheds where Sir Handel was being mended. When they arrived, workmen were already there to fix Sir Handel. Peter Sam couldn't help but chuckle.
How are you feeling, Sir Handel? I hope you feel better by tomorrow. Don't push it, Peter Sam.
Soon they were crossing the river siding. After that, they stopped at the yards where Duncan was about to pull a goods train. Then they crossed over a bridge where they could get some interesting views from the high ground. They made it to the quarry where Rusty was. He told them all about how he mends the lines whenever it's needed to. After that, Peter Sam and the crew left and made it to the next station, where Skarloey was with the express. The crew climbed down with the cameras and started to talk about the little old engine.
We are here at last to show everyone this brave little engine himself.
95 years old and he still runs like clockwork without any issues. We are proud for you, Skarloey, and I don't think the narrow-gauge part of this island wouldn't have continued without you.
Thank you, sir. Mind if I say something to the audience?
I don't see why not, buddy. What is it you'd like to say?
Well, when I was mended in England not too long ago, I finally found my missing twin.
Really? There's another ancient who's like you?
Oh yes, sir, there is. He was being mended too. His name is Telly Lynn. When the workmen saw us together, they laughed and said that we were little old twins. Telly Lynn told me about his railway, and it was a very lovely railway. It's in Wales. The workmen fixed us both and sent us home. I now think of not just my brother Rheneas, but I now think of my twin from the other railway. He's just like me with the same age. Now go see out not just him, but the railway he's in. If you do, then wish him good rails and good runnings from Skarloey.
Thank you, Skarloey. You heard him, folks. Go see the other railway and his twin brother. That will be the end of our trip, so I'm wishing you ancients a good luck on keeping your railway well. This is Richard Baker, signing off. Good night.